In the Saddle with Sheriff Richard K. Jones.
How's everybody doing today? I'm Rick Jones, Butler County, Ohio Sheriff, and I'm here today with Mark Murphy. We're going to talk about a topic that is pretty important, very important to everybody that's watching this today, to the entire country and other countries that are involved with this. It's going to be about fentanyl and how it's killing people and what it's doing to our country and how it affects us. This is our third podcast, so we're reaching out to people. We've got listeners and people that watch this and listen to it. We would like you to share this. These are very important topics that we're talking about. I want you to realize, first of all, that in Ohio, we're 85% higher than the national average of drug deaths. 85%. 108,000 people died nationwide, died of drug overdoses in 2021. The DEA classifies 2 milligrams of fentanyl as a lethal dose. 2 milligrams. You can take a salt shaker and pour it out, just put it on the table, and probably each little grain is probably a milligram or maybe 2. That's how tiny it is. So when we arrest people and they have enough doses of fentanyl that can kill 500,000 or kill 4 million people, it's a small little amount. Mexico replaced China as the dominant source of fentanyl and synthetic opioids entering the United States. Basically what happens is China makes the fentanyl, all the things that are necessary to make the fentanyl. They take it to the Mexican border, and it comes into the United States. 76% of all the illegal drugs in the world, I want to repeat this, 76% of all the illegal drugs in the world comes to the United States, which is sad in itself. We're a user country, and if you look at supply and demand, we attack a lot of issues, but we need to try to figure out how we can stop that 76%. And supply and demand, they bring it here, they make money. And as I was talking before we started today, 50 cents is what it costs to get one pill, fentanyl pill. 50 cents, the drug dealers pay 50 cents for that. And on average, it sells in the United States, depending on what city it is, up to $17 a pill. They disguise some of these pills coming in baby aspirins. Think about that. A baby aspirin. Think how dangerous that is and what it does. And we're going to talk about that as we get into this. These drugs are disguised. They come into the United States. Kids buy these pills online with the fentanyl in them. They think they're something else. They take them. First time, you can die. First time. These aren't people that are drug addicts and shooting needles every day. These are your kids, your adults. First time, they can die. 42% of all the pills tested, 42% from the DEA, 42% from the government that are tested have fentanyl enough to contain a lethal dose. A lethal dose, folks, is enough to kill you the first time. Like I said, I've been to the border twice. It's out of control then. It's out of control now. The poor people that are coming across, they're packing drugs in, and they're packing people in. They're packing kids in. And here we are today, and these people that are coming across are bringing the drugs. They're bringing kids. Kids are being raped. We have one instance in Ohio where a 10-year-old was pregnant by a 30-year-old illegal alien that was here and had sex with her more than once. 10 years old. Imagine that, folks. A 10-year-old and was raped. And they're doing that constantly coming across the border. But today, again, I've known Mark Murphy for many years. And I knew his family. His daughter was a beautiful young lady. And her name was Elizabeth Murphy. And I want him to be here today. I asked him, was it okay if he would come and explain? Maybe when he explains, maybe it saves one life. Maybe it saves more. But you need to be aware, this isn't what you see on TV where people are sitting on the curb and they're shooting needles up. And this is everyday American kids, young adults, first-time users can die from this. So without any other introduction, Murphy, I'd like you to explain what you do, if you can, what you do for a living, and about your family and how we got to this point.
My name is Mark Murphy. Thanks for having me. And on June 5th, 2020, we got the worst call and news that any family could ever possibly get. And it's that our daughter died of a fentanyl. They call it an overdose or accidental overdose. My wife and I refer to it as murder. There's no accident. Fentanyl is in pills, and that's what she apparently took, was a fentanyl pill, and it was laced. I think they're thinking it was a Xanax possibly she tried to buy, and it was laced with fentanyl. One time, and she's done, and she's gone. And what a lot of people don't understand, it's the #1 cause of basically death for people that are 18 to 45 or 46. And I think they've changed that to 13-year-old. And it's just, it's a bad thing in this country. And what it does to your family, it really puts a hurt on your family. Trying to work after you've lost a child, the grieving process. And as a father to a family, what you can't do is you can't really be there to help your family members in terms of emotional support, because you can only say so much that's going to help your wife. My daughter that died, was murdered, she left her sister who was 20, she's 22 at the time. And my daughter's also struggling with the loss of her sister too. And it's just a scourge, and it's here, it's in Butler County. This is not at the border. Everything starts at the border, that's what it originates from, but it's in our communities. And it's easy to ignore it. So many people are watching TikTok videos every day, but once that TikTok video goes away and everything looks sweet and nice, people are left with a lot of pain out there. Just last month, there were two young ladies at Ohio State University that they died with a fentanyl overdose as well, or murder. Apparently she was trying to study for an exam and she was looking for Adderall, and it wasn't Adderall. And it's just a very sad state, and it just seems like this is the #1 cause of death over suicides, more than COVID, anything. It's #1, and it's just not getting out there enough. You see it on a couple news sources, but this should be attacked as a nationwide, just basically mass murder that's being put on through the Mexican cartels, originating from China through Mexico, and it's something that, as a society, we really need to get behind all Americans, because there is no politics. There is no D, there is no R when you lose a child, when you're grieving. It just doesn't exist. However, what I'm finding is everything is political. The border's political. Why can't we get it shut down? I don't get it. How many sons and daughters of Americans, how many moms and dads have to grieve day after day? There are some days I can't even get out of bed, it's so tough. I mean, it's something that you don't want to happen to your family, and trust me, it's coming. And it's not stopping. So basically, what I try to do is when I talk to young people, I try to convince them. I'm trying to think to myself, what would I do as a kid? I mean, am I going to listen to somebody like me tell somebody else not to do drugs? So my advice when I'm talking to young people is, if there's somebody in your life that you love, whether you have a brother or a sister, if you love your mom or your dad, just somebody, think twice before you put anything in your mouth that was not prescribed by a doctor. Just think twice, because you're gone. But what you leave behind is a family that's damaged forever. We have to battle grief every single day. My wife and my daughter, the grandparents, it affects the whole family, it affects your friends, it affects everything. And the way we look at it, or I do in this fentanyl kind of world I'm in now, is everything seems like it's intentional. And nobody wants to stop it. And you've been talking about this for 2 or 3, I mean, I don't know how many years, because I've heard you talk about it. And the way I see it is, it's here now, and I think more Americans just have to die. I don't know what else to say about it, except we keep preaching, and people ignore it. Every day I'm in these fentanyl groups. One is Fentanyl Awareness Coalition, the other one's Lost Voices of Fentanyl, 2 great groups. And every day there's people dying. Every day it's approximately like a 747 going down. And it's almost like the news media and a lot of Americans don't pay attention to it because it doesn't happen at one time. If it was bam, 300 people die, then I think people would do it. But since it kind of seeps in slowly and it affects all the different communities at different times, one death in Butler County, Next week, another death in Butler County, a death over here, a death over here. But if you pulled it all together, it's the worst thing this country's going through.
I think, Mark, that people are so accustomed to this happening, and the news media doesn't put it on there that somebody died or somebody in your community. It's like when somebody commits suicide, they don't put that in the paper they committed suicide. It just said they died. And the only way you know is when you look at the obituaries, you see that a young person died, but you never know what it was. And the media doesn't mention, and we need the media, folks. We got to have them to deliver this message. That's why we're doing our podcast. We're going to deliver the message. We don't care what party you are, what group you are, what color you are, what sex you are. We want people to know. And the media doesn't say how many people died today, how many people died. It would only take a second to say, in Ohio, for instance, we lost 50 people today, or 20 people died today of fentanyl. Put that out there. Keep putting it out. It don't take long to put that on the news. And maybe these young kids, these young people, would see that. It might save one or two people. Like you said, one pill. You got to think. And young people don't like to listen to people our age. They think we don't know what we're talking about, and sometimes we don't, but we think we do. I look at my adult kids sometimes as 12-year-olds, and they're adults. They're in their 40s, and you got to look at, and you got to try to reach them. And the only way we can do that, like you said, the media won't put it out there. And there's so much of it happening as we speak. People are dying right now because of these pills coming in. China does it on purpose. They don't care. They want our country destroyed. They want us to fight within ourselves. They want us to be in total chaos. Mexico doesn't care. That's why they're doing all this that they're doing at the border. And sad to say, but our leadership at our borders don't seem to want to stop it. They might want to stop it if it was one of their kids or one of their grandkids.
That's what I talk about. It almost has to happen. To me, who cares about me? I'm a guy, I live in Westchester, Ohio. I'm a self-employed salesperson. Who cares about my family? But you know what? Maybe it has to happen to people out there that have some name. I mean, like a big movie star or something that can actually draw attention to it. It used to be where people thought it was just with heroin. That fentanyl, they mix it with heroin, which they still do. It's like drug addicts. It's not just that anymore. It's with all the anxiety these kids have and the adults have, with all the depression going on, suicidal thoughts. They're not able to get prescription medication as much as they could. So now they're out on the streets looking for it. So it's not just, you're thinking of drug addicts, heroin addicts. It's not just that. It's all Americans from 13 to 46. It's the whole gamut. And I just don't see a sense of urgency like there is with other things.
Our jail here, we have over 1,000. Sometimes we have more, sometimes we have less. And everybody that comes into the jail here, they are self-prescribed. In other words, they get drugs on the street. They're not getting it from their doctors. And they take such chances on these drugs. It's just not fentanyl, but we're talking about fentanyl today. I talked to 2 inmates back in the back. One of them was 65 years old. I've known him since he was 18 and then in and out of prison. He's still alive. Heroin one was his choice, and it was by shot. He doesn't even have a vein that he can shoot the heroin in. He has to find an artery. And this is going to be kind of tough to listen to, and I don't mean to offend people, but the one guy that I was talking to might have been close to 70 years old. He shoots the heroin in his penis. And you would think that would be totally crazy, but I try to scare young men especially, and I tell them, that's what it could evolve to. And they said, if that's the only place I have to shoot my heroin, that's where I will shoot it. That's how bad this is. And on the fentanyl, they're like you said, up studying for exams, trying to figure a way to take the drug just to get a little high, and they die the first time. You're really playing roulette with a loaded gun and spinning the barrel. If you think the odds are for you not getting that lethal dose, the odds are more in favor of you getting it. If you look at Ohio, for example, and that's where we're at today in Butler County, Ohio. Butler County is the 8th largest county of 88 in the United States. It's one of the larger states in the United States, and we're 85% more than national average of drug overdoses and deaths. And we think the reason for that is we're on a major highway. We've got major cities on that major highway. We and other agencies, law enforcement, stop people with 500,000 pills. Do the math. 500,000 pills. They pay 50 cents a pill, and they're getting $17 a pill. And no taxes. They don't care about the death.
Model. It's a great business
It
model.
is, and it's the supply and demand. 76% come here to the United States, and 76%, that's almost 80%. And we got to work on that, but we got to educate people. And the media does not help us unless it's a mass death. They got to do something once a month. We're asking, but it's anything that's sensational. And the media, they focus on things, and the government focus on things that we are dying out here. There's not anyone that I know of that doesn't have a friend or a family member that hasn't had a drug addiction or hasn't died of some drug overdose or has been to the hospital or hasn't tried to commit suicide. And people today, there's lots of depression, and if you need medication, they've closed the doctors down. They can't hardly give pain medication.
Exactly right.
Anybody that's watching today, if you go to the hospital, go to have surgery, they'll give you 2 or 3 little pills, and that's it. And they're so scared, and that's because some of them abuse this, and people become addicted to it. But we've got to get our mental institutions. We got to get people. You can't get in to see a doctor if you have a psych issue, a psychiatric issue. The waiting list is so long, you can't get in. And during COVID, you couldn't see anybody for 2 years. And it's totally out of control. We need help, but our government they're always focused on fighting with each other over politics. And while they're, a wise guy told me once, you know what happens when the elephants stomp? When the elephants, and they're stomping, you know what happens? The ants die. And the elephants, the government, they're stomping their feet and snorting, and the little things that are below their feet, we're dying. Yeah. So when the elephants stomp, people die every day, and we can't get any help. We go out and we arrest people selling drugs. We encourage people to tell on them. There's somebody taking their place as it's going. Yeah. It's because of the supply and demand. Doesn't help you with your situation and your family. What was your daughter doing? I mean,
well, she was. This is what's interesting is that she lost her job, because when COVID hit, her place where she was working closed down. So my wife and I were like, oh, this is great. So what are these young people going to do now when they're not working? So my daughter went out with a friend and took the pill, and that was it, done. So she was working and in sales, and it just.
How old was she?
21.
21.
Beautiful 21-year-old. And it was just, and look, just to go back to, I want to bring some awareness in terms of fentanyl. It used to be that the cartels would just want fentanyl and the heroin, but what they found out is they have a great market here in the pills. So not only are they doing it with the heroin, which is great because fentanyl is a great buzz, but they're putting it in the pills now because they have some great customers here, like you were talking about. So yeah, so they put it in the pills, and what they're doing, it's called dry blending. So they mix all the stuff from China, all the components, because unlike heroin, where you need good weather, you need to grow the product, fentanyl is made in a lab. So it's easy to produce, easy to ship, simple, doesn't get moldy. Send it to Mexico, and they do what's called dry blending. So they have just a picture like a blender, and they mix it. And these aren't chemists. These aren't PhDs from Procter & Gamble. These are people just mixing. So what happens is, this is why people say, well, why are they trying to kill their own customers? They're not. What happens is, when you're mixing all this and you're pressing pills, they don't know if that chunk went into that pill or that chunk went into that pill. So what's happening is it's just percentages. So you could have 2 people split the same pill, one person die, the other person not die because of this dry blending. There's no science behind it. There's no production.
What these labs that they make are illegal labs. Mm-hmm. They're in people's basements. They're in their garages. I've seen pictures of them before where they're making this. They got jars laying in the floor, and they have pill presses, and they make these counterfeit pills that look exactly like Xanax.
That's what Lizzie had. It was exact. It had the exact.
It has it all, and they looked exact the same color, but the ingredients is not the same. And they do these pill presses. China's complicit with murder of your daughter and murder of Americans. Mexican government is complicit because they allow it. The drug cartel runs the government there. Chinese are just doing it because they want us to be disruptive. They want us to be in chaos. They want us to hate each other. And we don't have anybody that fights for us to stop this. But be assured that these pills are so look-alike, and these laboratories, and these aren't people with PhDs and scientists. They're people that are very illiterate, and they're making these pills, and they're not getting paid much, and they're pouring across our border, and they're killing us and causing addiction every day. And kids go online. You can get anything online.
Well, that's the other thing is there's the way they communicate on Instagram, or Snapchat, is they have their own language. Like Goodfellows, I had it written down. There's some other type of items that they had mentioned, but they have their own language with emojis, like a smiley face, sideways, upside down. That means, hey, I got some good pills. You'd almost have to have like a 14 or 13-year-old detective here to be able to figure out what all these messages mean.
It's funny that you say that.
They adapt so quickly. I mean, they are not dumb people that are selling these drugs. Cartels are very smart people, very good business people. And that's what we're seeing in this country, that we just can't get a grip on people together enough, I guess, to kind of come together and stop it. And in our groups, we talk about this. We don't want to talk politics, but everything's political and everything's intentional, because I and the rest of the fathers and mothers in these fentanyl groups, we can't go shut down the border. We can't. So guess what? It is political. So the people in the groups that I'm talking to, I told them, nobody's going to listen if you have a bullhorn I'm screaming outside the Capitol. Nobody's going to listen if I have a bunch of banners up. Nobody cares. But you know what? We need to run for office, the people in our groups, and that's what I'm helping people do, showing them, because the only way you can make change is if you get in the inside. You can't do anything from the outside. So that's kind of what we're working on.
No, it's a smart idea. I tell people all the time, you got to pay attention to your school boards, city councils, all your representatives. They work for you. And sometimes these people get elected to these positions. It doesn't matter what party you are. They drink the Kool-Aid, and they forget where they came from. And their constituents, which are us, all of us, are left without having any resources, and they fight about the things that don't matter as much to us. We don't care them fighting over politics. We want them to fight for us. We want them to fight for our kids not getting access to these pills. How hard is it to tell the Chinese and when you talk to them, when you talk to the Chinese, you can have your different opinions about them, but they're very aggressive. They have a plan, and it's to destroy this country from within, like the Roman Empire. We will fall from within if we don't fight this and stand up and stay strong. And I'm telling people today, this is very heart-wrenching. It's been heart-wrenching for your family. I talk to people every day. I talk to prisoners back here that have these addictions and take these pills. And like I mentioned, the one that doesn't have veins and where he shoots this. And it doesn't scare them at all, because when they get out, they're going to do it again. One of them was so young, and he had no veins. When he goes to the hospital for any surgery, they have to find an artery. His veins are all gone. They shoot him under their tongue. They shoot him other places that I described earlier. And until we get a grip on this, until we fight it, and that's what we're trying to do today, is there any organizations that if families are having issues with their kids and they want to reach out to them, how can they, what kind of groups are there?
Well, first of all, let me just say, my heart goes out to any parent that's lost a child from anything. It's brutal. But there's an organization in Westchester called Companions on a Journey.
That's Westchester, Ohio.
Yeah, Westchester, Ohio, and it's for any grieving parent, anybody that's dealing with issues of loss. But some groups you can look into it's called the Fentanyl Awareness Coalition. That's a great one, and also the Lost Voices of Fentanyl. Pretty tough stuff to see, because it seems like 5 minutes there's a new picture of a new person that's, a child of somebody, and it just devastates families. It's crushing on families.
Somebody that's from another state that's watching this, is there a national organization?
Yeah, that would be the Fentanyl Awareness Coalition. That's national.
And that's
the
online? You can get it?
online, yes. And the Lost Voices of Fentanyl. And there's also a lot of things you can download to help your school districts to teach the teachers about fentanyl, about one pill and you're done. I don't say one pill can kill you. I say one pill will kill you. It's not can. It's just you're playing roulette. Out of 10 pills, and they're all bad, one of them is going to be worse than the other. So if 3 out of 10 chances, you want to take that chance, it's just going to end your life.
And remember, these aren't pristine labs. These are made in people's basements, in their garages, in Mexico. And China ships the ingredients, like you said, dry mixing. And one pill might be okay, the other one's not. They have these presses, and they make them look like real pills. There's been instances where pharmacies have been tricked with the pills that they think are real because they look and are similar. But one pill, you're really living a dangerous life. And I don't know what the age group is that watches this, but I will tell you this. Don't put that pill in your mouth, man. It's not worth it. One time can kill you. You don't know. And like I said, Mr. Murphy here, his family still dealing with it and will deal with it, I assume, the rest of your life.
Yeah, and what we're trying to also push is, if you recall the Tylenol murders, where if you recall that like 8 people died, and it was because somebody took a poison and they put in fentanyl, and the whole nation got behind that, and every single drug put like a little aluminum or a little cover on the
people
pills.
Have no idea why when you go to take that milk or whatever, you have to peel that tab off. It was because of the Tylenol poisoning.
Yeah, and that's that's the same thing, but it's 100 times worse than that, and we can't get America just to kind of fall in line with this, because as a father, it's a little bit different, because I get a little bit more angry about it, heated, because I lost my daughter. But not to care about, to bring up the border, the reason I would just like this administration to bring it up one time. Now DEA's brought it up, CDC's brought it up, it's on their website right now, but to me, to acknowledge the fentanyl problem would have to be, you'd have to acknowledge a border problem. And I'm not sure they're willing to do that. I would love for them to stand up for the sons and daughters of America and fight for this country, because we're losing too many children, too many young people.
Today has been a very educational podcast, and we're going to make these like this very informative. We're going to bring people in to discuss it, and this is our 3rd one today, and we've been here today with Mark Murphy, and we've talked about his beautiful daughter. I met her before.
Yes, you have.
And I was at the funeral.
Yes, you
and
were.
Just a beautiful young lady, like all of these kids and young adults are. Elizabeth Murphy, great lady, great family, your wife, your other daughter, and how it's affected you. And I try to bring it up, but I always ask you, is it okay? But we have to try to reach people, and I'm so proud of you coming out
Thank
today.
you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
And hopefully we save some lives.
That's the goal. Just one would be nice.
Hey, good luck. Thanks to everybody. Is there anything you'd like to part with today?
Just kind of watch your children, watch what they're doing, watch your young adults, and just let them know that fentanyl is very real, and that one pill will kill, and just kind of get that across to them. Thank you.
Hey, good luck. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you.